The best thing about horror games is that they are basically the only genre where the length of the experience doesn't actually matter if they are made well. A 20-minute horror game can literally stick in your mind for years to come, more than a 5-hour one. And this is simply because the developers knew how to reach your mind the right way. In fact, some of the games that I can't forget today when it comes to scaring the heck out of me are actually short ones that made me glad that the psychological pain doesn't last any longer. The reason for this is because, unlike action or adventure games, horror games don't really need much context to provide you with the scares you signed up for. In some cases, even roaming in an abandoned haunted house is enough to stress you because your mind keeps thinking about what's hidden more than what's apparent. Furthermore, one of the powerful aspects of short horror games is that they leave you with more questions than answers. They keep you wondering about the backstory of the place, the events, or even the protagonists themselves. Short horror games can also be a perfect teaser for longer and bigger versions that come out later, and you'll see an example of this in this video. Anyway, today I decided to talk specifically about short horror and prepare for you a list of titles that I personally believe are very memorable and unique despite their short length. So without further ado, get your cup of coffee ready and let's start. Conformity is a tiny free short game that makes no sense, and you don't even get to know what the story is about, but the visuals alone are enough to get your attention. It starts as the protagonist steps out of their car and goes to a house in the middle of nowhere. After you enter it, you will be impressed by how good the graphics are and how the house looks exactly like a perfect abandoned abode with its regular furniture. There are some hints about the place that are supposed to give you an idea of who used to live here, but the overall picture remains unclear. However, things start to escalate quickly when you go upstairs and see a man sitting on a chair and looking in the other direction. But once you get close, the light flickers and he disappears completely, making it clear that the guy is not human at all. The developer of this game, Alessandro Capriolo, said that this small experience is supposed to be a demo for a larger game, but it's been 3 years now and we didn't see a thing. So it's obvious that Alessandro changed his plans, or he might even be the man on the chair and got possessed. We will never know. Locked Up is a game by Emika Games, and if you know those guys, then you probably realize that they don't mess around when it comes to chilling games. The game follows the story of a person who wakes up in an apparent abandoned house with no memory of how they got there. Afterwards, discovering the house becomes a must if you want to get out of there. However, it's obvious that something terrible happened in the residence a long time ago, and the pain of its inhabitants can be noticed. Every part of it is disturbing, and in some cases, you can even hear the sounds of a woman crying, which is definitely the last thing you want to hear in a haunted house. I believe a murder occurred behind the walls of this home, or maybe some sort of ritual occurred for some reason inside it. Anyway, the game is less than an hour long when you play the demo, which is available for free even today, but you can also buy the full version, which gives you more time to get even more terrified. At first sight, this game looks casual, and you might not even take it seriously due to its pixelated graphics. But once you start playing it yourself, you'll realize that the pixelated visuals make it even more chilling. The protagonist here is a guy who didn't hear from his brother for a while and started to get worried about him, so he decided to go to the apartment where he lives to check on him. Once you enter his apartment, you'll immediately feel that there's something unusual here, especially when you see a random shadow of a man passing by at the end of the corridor. Beside that, when the phone rings, you'll hear a weird sound of a man crying on the other side that makes absolutely no sense. Even though the house is in pixelated graphics, it literally stressed me out when I played the game, because the silence in it keeps you always uncomfortable. You don't know what you're supposed to expect, or if you'll be able to leave. The overall story of the game is not typically scary, and I think the developer could have made it more sophisticated, but the atmosphere is actually very tense and forces you to take this little game seriously. So if you want to try it yourself, then you can get it for free on itch.io from the developer Max Horror.
بسم الله الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء.
Iblis is a very unsettling game and provides you with 30 minutes of pure stress, horror, and anticipation of what can happen next. It takes place in a haunted house in a secluded Turkish village, known for its paranormal events and the crazy, scary stuff that happens in it. And here you take on the role of a religious official who went to the house to investigate if the rumors about it were factual or just imaginary thoughts from the locals. And spoiler alert, the locals are actually dead right, and the house is very, very messed up. A woman used to live here, and she was about to get married to the man she loves, but unfortunately she died in a car accident before the marriage. However, the disturbing part is that the husband's family wasn't sad about her death because they didn't like her in the first place. So it is suggested that the woman made some sort of deal with the devil to punish anyone who inhabits the house, including her fiancé's family. So apparently, the devil manifested in her body and became attached to the place. The atmosphere here is really insane because the house looks very genuine and goes hand in hand with its backstory. And by the way, I don't know if you watch international horror entertainment or not, but Turkish horror movies are actually among the most terrifying movies you can watch and seem very realistic in a disturbing way. So this game is definitely one of the experiences that can get your soul out of your body without taking much time.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله. بسم الله. حسبي الله ونعم الوكيل.
If the word disturbing was a game, then it would probably be Leftovers, because nothing about this experience is logical. In this game, your mother is preparing dinner, but she gets upset when she notices an excess of leftovers and how no one is eating them. As a result, she assigned you the responsibility of distributing it among your neighbors. Despite the fact that your mom always told you not to talk to strangers, she decided this time that you must go to every neighbor and see if they want to take some leftovers. The problem, however, is that your neighbors are some of the most messed up people you'll ever meet. And as you go door to door, you encounter a cast of bizarre characters, each with their own secrets and dark history. The game's goal is to make you explore themes of isolation, childhood fear, and the unknown. But beside that, it also shows you how people who look normal from the outside can sometimes be the weirdest and scariest people when you know their secrets. And this is definitely accurate, even in our real lives. The cartoonish design of the game is also beautiful, but don't think that it makes it less creepy. As I said in one of my previous videos, the more casual the thing is, the scarier it becomes when you see its dark side. Anyway, this game is free, and you can get it on itch.io if you want to understand what I'm talking about. I talked about this title at the end of my last video as an honorable mention, but I think it deserves to be mentioned again because I really want the developer to make a similar, longer version. The game is set in a normal house, where a young man wakes up in the middle of the night after hearing bizarre sounds. When he goes to check on his sister in her bedroom, he finds out that she has disappeared. He then starts searching for her all over the house. But this is obviously a big mistake, because his sister is not actually the same person he knows anymore. She basically became possessed, and this might be the result of certain rituals that she was performing or something. Anyway, the guy needs to keep searching for her, and simultaneously, he might need to run from her too to avoid her craziness. What really caught my attention here is the amazing style of the visuals. The game looks like a 1970s horror movie, and the house looks very creepy when you see it from this view. The tight resolution also contributes to making the view look eerie, as if something might occur at any second. So if you want to give this game a try and see if you can deal with this guy's crazy sister, then remember that you can get this game for free from Itch.io. It's not available on Steam, so please make sure to check out Itch.io. In the last 10 years, many games have come out, taking inspiration directly from PT, but among the earlier ones that not many people have heard of is Precipice. It came out in 2017, and it really had insanely hyper-realistic visuals that you didn't expect to see often in an indie game during that time. As usual, it's set in a house where you start at its corridor and continue walking until you find the door at the end, which will lead you to, yes, you guessed it, the same freaking corridor. The scariest thing for me is the cockroach on the wall. It's basically the biggest and most realistic cockroach I've ever seen in a game. The photos on the table also seem similar to those in PT, and as usual, they portray a woman. I don't know why every haunted house always has pictures and portraits of casual real women, but regardless of the reason, none of us can deny that it's effective in disturbing us even more. Anyway, you will keep roaming the house in an endless loop, but you can also check some of the rooms as well. However, this can confuse you even more because some rooms literally lead you to the same room again, and sometimes they can lead to the corridor. In certain times, you can experience flickering lights, or you can even see the lights turn off completely, leaving you in full darkness. The backstory of the house is not clearly revealed, and we don't even know who the protagonist is, but the experience is definitely frightening, and it keeps you wondering how the loop will end and what's waiting for you when you reach the last cycle. Linger is a very special game because it proves that even the most luxurious houses can be chilling if you focus on the atmosphere. The game follows the story of a character whose name we don't really know, and he's stuck in a house during a massive snowstorm. However, he is left with a notebook containing cryptic instructions that become increasingly strange and unsettling as the days pass. We don't also know who's leaving these notes, but we are supposed to follow them if we want to live and understand the place. You need to follow the instructions and roam the house to do certain stuff in order for the days to pass, but trust me when I say that roaming this house is not a walk in the park. Even though the house looks insanely beautiful and you probably wish to live in it in real life, it remains a source of dread because you don't know its history or what's lurking in the corners. The ambience also becomes more tense as the day passes, and the notes reach a disturbing level that makes no sense. Anyway, eventually you'll find that you're not alone, and that something sinister is living with you and coming to get you. So if you haven't played this game yet, then I assure you that you'll live 30 minutes of pure horror if you get your hands on it.
chosen.
"99% of you are probably familiar with this game in its original form, since it was actually one of the reasons that led to the revolution of indie horror games 10 years ago. However, since the original game was cancelled and deleted from the internet, people who didn't play it felt like they missed an experience that will never happen again during their lifetimes. But little did they know, the internet is full of talented people who can fix that problem. The PT remake was made by one developer who tried hard to emulate the original experience as much as possible. Just like PT, here you'll also find yourself stuck in a weird house, where you have to go through its corridors over and over. And in each cycle, you'll notice that the environment gets more nightmarish and paranormal stuff starts to occur. The mysterious woman Lisa is also here, and she'll keep tormenting you from every corner. For those who don't know, Lisa was a regular wife who got killed by her husband in the house after he shot her in the right eye. He also killed his kids and ended up adding himself to the list of victims too. It is suggested that the soul of the family manifested in the abode, and the protagonist here is the husband himself, who is forced to relive the consequences of the horrible crime he committed over and over in a constant loop. He can even see his unborn baby, who died with Lisa while she was pregnant during the incident. If I were you, I would definitely get my hands on this game and see a glimpse of the amazing experience that we never had the chance to play in its full form. And please remember that you can get it from Itch.io, and it's called Unreal PT. I don't want you to get lost searching for it.
Upstanding folks got their welfare cut, got their jobs pulled out from under us. You know what to do. Now's the time. Do it.
204863. 204863. 2048.
Oh boy, this is the big one on the list, guys, and anyone who didn't expect this game to be number one has probably never played it before. The wrong floor is the definition of stress, claustrophobia, and nyctophobia. And for those who don't know, claustrophobia and nyctophobia are basically the fear of closed spaces and the fear of darkness. Anyway, the game starts in an apartment building, where you find yourself waiting for the elevator to open. Once you get in, you'll realize that your problems are about to start because the elevator will take you straight to the wrong destination, hence the name of the game, Wrong Floor. The darkness in this place is nothing you've seen before, and it literally freaks you out immediately because you're anticipating something to show up from any corner at any second. You can move the lamp on the ground to shed some light in certain directions, but it's not really helpful by any means. Eventually, you'll find a cheap flashlight to use, but I swear the silence in this game is complete psychological torture. However, the real torture begins when you see someone looking straight at you like a maniac before disappearing and breaking the door on the other side. But apparently this thing is an actual maniac, according to a poster on the wall, and it seems that he's not a very friendly maniac at all. The time that you'll spend roaming this basement knowing that this creature is here with you is basically the strong point of this game. The developer masterfully managed to make us uncomfortable the entire time and make us feel like we're the ones inside and not the fictional character. The amount of relief that you'll get when you eventually leave and the nightmare is over is insane. However, the developer didn't stop here. because the success of this short game pushed him to make an even longer version called From the Darkness. And if you're an old subscriber to this channel, then you already know how much we praised that game and how much it's freaking terrifying. Okay guys, this is all for today, and hopefully the list had something you found interesting. I mean, come on, I'm pretty sure you know that some of these games are insanely scary when you put the headset on and jump into their worlds yourselves. I tried hard to avoid games that were longer than an hour because I wanted to prove that short games can sometimes be enough to give you the experience you're looking for. There are other short horror games that you probably need to check out too. A good suggestion is the fan-made Halloween. It's a very stressful experience where you need to deal with the one and only Michael Myers and try to take him down. Another game is You Must, which is basically a heart attack simulator, because the whole experience is full of random jump scares that will remove your soul. Anyway, if you know any other good titles that I missed, make sure to mention them in the comments below. Until the next video, enjoy the rest of your day, or night, depending on your time zone.